Today I share my 10 most embarrassing childhood stories ranked by how humiliating they are. Yay! So let's start with one of the worst ones. Ugh. I really wanted to get my period. I remember being so excited when I got my first zit because I felt like it meant I was finally a teenager. And all of my other friends at sleepovers would do roll calls to see who got their period, and it got to a point where I was the only one who didn't have it. I was so excited I was finally in this exclusive girls club that I always wanted to be in, and I walked home the day I got it with a spring in my step and subtly told my mom, so everyone wouldn't hear, I got my period. And she was like, what? You got your period? My whole family heard, and then my dad walked up to me with tears in his eyes and was like, you're finally a grown woman. The cringe was so bad, I was like, hey, we're never talking about this again. I, however, could have really used the feminine hygiene advice. I didn't know what to do with any of the products, and that is the context of what resulted in the following mishap. Since I wasn't popular in school with boys, the boys I talked to went to school on the other side of town. And one boy really took interest in me and invited me over to his house on the north side where the cool guys lived. I wore my favorite white pants, a skin-tight Parasuco zip-up sweater, back-combed the life out of my hair, and put on my skin-colored nude lipstick. True to like the 2000s fashion. Way too much mascara, spider lashes, and went over there thinking that I was the hottest girl ever. Him and his best friend were super happy to see me, but I sat like a man at the time. I just really like to, and I didn't realize I had a period mishap because I didn't know what to do with my feminine products. It was mortifying knowing there was nothing I could say or do to fix this. And they ended up being so horrified that they couldn't help but tell the popular girls at my school what happened. And they came up to me and were like, well, must have happened because you're loose. Ah! On the tier list, I'm gonna give this an A. This was pretty embarrassing. I would call this a formative experience. I've told some of you guys about it before. So other girls came by and they were like, oh, that it happens, it happened to me, and it's okay that it happened to you, and that's really embarrassing. But it happens. The rest of these should not have happened. I used to be part of a trio of best friends who did everything together, but I started spending more and more time with this new girl, Ashley, because she was really fun, and my two friends didn't like that, so they made a pact with all of the girls to excommunicate Ashley. And obviously I wasn't the biggest fan of this because Ashley was super fun, so I stuck with Ashley. But this other girl in the popular group was like, okay, we're throwing out Ashley, we should throw out Cassie too. She had a problem with me and she would always make incessant racial remarks about my face to me every day. And one day, and I'm not proud of this, I looked at her and I pretty much insulted her in Cardi B style. Like,
she just looks a little like she could protect the building.
That was a bad idea because it gave her justification to say that I'm a bully and both me and Ashley should be out. And this is why every single day in grade 7, when the lunch bell rang, Ashley and I would meet up together and eat our lunch in the girls' bathroom. We would each share a stall, trading snacks over the toilet, laughing when we were alone and going silent if we heard any sign of activity. And unfortunately, the girl who campaigned to kick me out of the group noticed that Ashley and I were never in the cafeteria. She watched us one day and saw we were hiding in the bathroom stall. She saw us go in there, ratted us out to the vice principal who was banging at the door. We went in there every single day to avoid being made fun of, and now the vice principal is out there banging on the door, screaming at us about how unhygienic and disgusting what we are doing is. And everyone laughed. Bathroom lunch is in the A tier. I think about it all the time. Like when I think about it, my hands get sweaty. That's how embarrassed I was when we walked out of the bathroom with our little lunches. Ashley came out empty-handed and I was like, where's your noodle cup? And she was like, I put it in the period dispenser. Oh, that was a bad one. Oh, something in my eye. Ooh, I haven't thought about this one in a long time until I sat down to like figure this video out, but this one is called The Nice Guy. This is grade 7. Again, man, a lot of these are. It was an eventful year. There was a boy in my class, a new boy named Steve, and he wore a ton of Axe body spray, which was new and intriguing to our noses at the time. A year later and onward, it would become horribly overdone by the boys and you would associate it with cheapness, but they all wanted the same attention Steve got. Steve really pulled it off, and the girls in my class used to walk by his desk just to get a whiff of him, and he obviously didn't like the attention, which I actually found super charming. So I ended up developing a crush on Steve, and I told a few girls about it, and this news spread like wildfire, as it does in middle school. It spread all the way to my ex-boyfriend from grade 5, who told me on MSN Messenger that he would introduce me to Steve, and I thought he was doing me a solid. I wasn't smart enough yet to realize there was absolutely no reason for him to play Cupid for his ex out of the goodness of his heart. So I believe my ex told Steve how much of a loser I am before this group chat started. At least that's what I tell myself, okay? Steve is brought into the group chat. I say, hi, hi Steve, and he responds with a puking face. I don't remember the rest of what happened. Like, I actually think I blacked out. I just remember he was roasting my ass so bad to the point where my ex felt bad and was like, Cassie, are you just gonna let him talk to you like this? And I was dumbfounded. I was like, I don't know what I did. I was deeply embarrassed. He was excited to laugh at me, but he ended up feeling nothing but pity, and that made it worse. I'm gonna put this in the B tier. The B tier is, I'm sorry that happened. Like, it was really embarrassing, but I have worse. Okay, this one's bad, all right? This is called Slammed Door. I went to the counselor one day because I was having a mental health episode, probably an emotional hangover about the bathroom issue with Ashley. This was the same grade, grade 7, shortly after it happened. The counselor actually was horrified at the fact that we felt so unsafe. We were choosing to eat where we poop. I was surprised that an adult saw us as human beings. It wasn't common at the time, and she told me she actually felt this was an emergency. So while she was furiously typing out my story into her little computer, she asked if I could pull Ashley from class so that she could hear Ashley's account of what happened as well. I already knew what class Ashley was in, so I immediately asked for some kind of permission slip just to prove to the teacher that I had a reason. She was in computers, and the computer teacher hated me from day 1. When I was in his class, man-spreading in my hoodie and jeans, he was like, can you please sit like a lady? So I wasn't feeling very confident as I walked around the fishbowl classroom towards the door, armed with only a piece of paper signed by the counselor. The class was like a fishbowl. It was like an all glass box in the middle of the school. And I saw Ashley sitting next to the guy I like. So I gave her a little wave with my slip, and I looked over to see the computer teacher staring daggers like Professor Snape style through the window. I have the slip though. So I knocked on the door, and he walked over to it without dropping his gaze. He was like, I asked if I could take Ashley out of class, and before I could mention my permission slip or the crisis our counselor was trying to handle, he was like, no! And slammed the door in my face. And since the classroom is a glass fishbowl, all of the kids inside could see me standing out there with a door slammed in my face. They all laughed along with the teacher as I sauntered back over to the counselor's office. I got back there and she was like, where's Ashley? And I was like, Professor Snape said no. It was so bad. This is A tier. We got a lot of A's right now, but this was, oh, why did it have to be in the fishbowl? This one is called True Detectives, okay? This was grade 2. When I was particularly low on friends in elementary school, I briefly became close with one of the bad girls. I knew I didn't have much of a reputation, so I felt like I had to be bad to be her friend. And when she told me she had been going around flooding all the toilets for fun, I took it as my sign to get into the toilet game for a while. I was in the toilet trade. It was so easy. Like, you just go in, you fill the bowl with toilet paper, flush, walk out, and go, hey, who made this big mess? Why is it so flooded in here? What the heck? And no one suspected a thing. Until one time, we flooded a toilet so badly that we were actually genuinely concerned we would flood the school. Like, it didn't seem like there would be an end to the overflowing water, and we freaked ourselves out so much that we went to the principal's office and told on ourselves and pretended it wasn't us. We were like, it's crazy out there. And they were trying to find the serial toilet flooders for so long that they already knew it was us. It's so easy as a child to not even consider how much experience school employees have with kids who have sat in front of them telling bald-faced lies and with so many obvious giveaways. But you get older and you realize you just sucked at lying. I talked to my mom earlier about this story, and she informed me that my dad never told her that. She was like, you what? But like, nobody laughed at me, and my dad protected me. So I think I'm gonna put it in C. It isn't something that I think about at night and go, ah! you know? It would have been worse if my mom found out. Quiet time! Everybody shut up! Teacher's here! It's grade 7! Middle school was just a mess. I used to lie about the amount of friends I had. You know, it's just one of those things you do. One morning before class started, when everyone was being loud and unruly in the moments before the first bell rang, I was talking about one of my friends, who was actually a guy I met gaming and never in person, when a girl who sat across from me picked up on it. She popped into our conversation and said, "I don't believe you." And it was so loud that I thought that there was no way I heard her correctly. But I'm an idiot, so I asked, "Why?" And right as the teacher walked in and the entire class quieted down, the girl loudly said, "Cassie, you don't have any friends." And the entire class erupted in laughter. And as emotionally repressed as I was, I didn't just cry, like I tried to hold it in, but I projectile cried. I could not stop for 2 hours, to the point where like the emo goth girls who never felt bad for anyone felt bad for me and tried to cheer me up. This is one of those stories that like when I think about it, I'm like, ah! The girl who said, "Cassie, you don't have friends," was one of the ones who made the pact to excommunicate Ashley, and I guess too. She never stopped being my friend, she just couldn't hang out with me at school. And I think the comment she made was resentment, because she believed that I did this to myself by choosing Ashley over her. Yeah, this one's an S. Like, this is seriously one of the most embarrassing moments of my life, just because I could not stop crying, and I hate doing that. All right, we are going back to the 90s for this one. This is called "The Sky is Falling." When I was 8 years old, I lived down the street from this girl named Lena, who seemed to have it all. She was allowed to dye her hair, and she wore the coolest clothes, and she had lava lamps and plasma balls, and the family even had a pair of Dalmatians that they bred, so she always had puppies. Walking into her house was like unlocking a secret level to a game and witnessing peak suburbia. And despite being neighbors, I wouldn't say that Lena really liked me. The only times we hung out together was when her mom called my mom to set it up, but I don't know, maybe her mom liked seeing the glint in my eye when I walked into their house and marveled at all the cool stuff that they had. So of course, when Lena's birthday comes around, I get the invitation from Lena by way of her mom calling my mom to invite me. In retrospect, that invite probably got sent out without Lena's knowledge, but I showed up in my bathing suit because I heard it was a pool party. Of course, it was her house though, and you can't just start with the pool. You gotta build up by jumping on the trampoline next to her life-sized dollhouse, complete with a swing set. Lena and all of her friends were playing this game called 1, 2, 3 Bounce. If you have a trampoline, you know what I'm talking about. Like a person in the middle jumps on the trampoline and everyone else stands around the edge and counts so they can double bounce them on the word bounce. Right before I went in the air, I remember feeling this overwhelming sense of acceptance. Like all of these cool, popular kids were standing around me, focusing on my jumps. They were all a year older than me, so their attention felt like approval that I was one of them. But then being older also meant that I was a lot smaller than them. So when they said bounce, I shot up like 10 feet higher than anyone had managed to get up to at that point. And as I flailed through the air, I lost control of my personal space and I crash landed on her boy Clifford's head. Lena's mom picked me up off of Clifford's writhing body, and I listened between his uncontrollable sobs as she directed me to the goodie bags and told me, "All right, Cassie, like, party's over." I don't know what I was thinking. Like, the treat bag must have been amazing, because it only occurred to me later that what I thought at the time was a really short and lame no pool party was only that way for me. And maybe Clifford? Oh, Clifford. I'm gonna give this one a C, just because I didn't realize that I got kicked out of the party until I was older, and I was like, oh, I definitely got kicked out of that party. This one is called "Boys Can Be Heavy." I was really not cool from grades 1 to 3. I mean, clearly it didn't get better, but like in elementary, I actually brought a lot of it on myself though. I really enjoyed athletics and video games, which contributed to striking out with girls. I mean, it was the 90s, and it led me to embrace my tomboy caricature. In other words, I became a pick-me girl for attention from boys, hoping that they would take me in, since all the girls were kind of put off by my lack of charm and shared interests. And in order to strike up a conversation, I would often start with like, "Wow, it's so crazy how I run so much faster than you. I could beat you in an arm wrestle." I had an ego, but I was insulting their egos as a way to gain respect. I was socially just, it wasn't good. This went horribly awry in grade 3 when my tough girl spirit prompted me to roughhouse with the boys one day. Everyone was wrestling in the snow, and I desperately wanted in, so I jumped into the pit of roughhousing, and they didn't like it at all because I was challenging them prior to that. So they dogpiled me to prove a point, and it was like high impact. Like, this was WWE. They were like, whoop, boom, on me, and it was like I could feel my ribs like cracking, and it hurt so bad. I cried. Dang it. I do that a lot. After my pride and my body were damaged in that incident, I found it difficult to go up to girls and ask if I could join in on like their hopscotch or like something safer. So I would just walk around with a deck of Pokemon cards asking if someone wanted to trade. Or I would save my best recess snacks in hopes that like someone would want a few Dunkaroos and would let me stand around them in return. It wasn't the worst again because I like didn't really have self-awareness yet. So I'm gonna put this in oof, but you'll live. Like you'll be all right. Shake it off. This one is so crazy that I feel crazy telling it. This is Spring Break Gauntlet. This story is about another popular girl, Danny, who would sometimes hang out with me outside of school, but never at school. This is a theme in my life. There was one spring break where she called me out of the blue and asked if I wanted to come over. And I didn't know how she got my number, but I was like, sure! I went over not knowing what to expect, but we actually had the best time together. We were eating snacks, we were watching movies, blasting music, laughing the whole time, and she asked if I wanted to sleep over, and I was like, sure! Our senses of humor were really similar and we were vibing. The vibes were still good when she asked me to stay for a third night. I wanted a change of clothes at this point and suggested I should probably head back home, but she told me like, hey, no, just wear my clothes. Shower at my house. I agreed. So we're on the 4th day of spring break and all the popular girls are calling Danny, asking where she is, but she's like, oh, I have a friend over. And they're like, who is it? And she pauses and looks up at me and reluctantly says, Cassie. I felt like I should really get out of her hair. So I was like, you should just hang out with them. I'm overstaying my welcome. And she was like, no, don't go. So I stayed another night. It's day 5. And she's like, don't break the chain, Cassie. It's still morning. Just call your mom right now and ask if you can stay again. So I picked up the phone. I gave my strict Asian mom a call, knowing that she would probably be so annoyed about me being gone all week that she would certainly demand that I get my ass home. And my mom was like, nope, it's fine. And she hung up. I ended up staying at Danny's house for a total of 7 days, the entirety of spring break. I was so socially starved for times like this though, that I ate it up. Like despite being exhausted from the total flip it was from my usual lifestyle. So school gets back in. My source in the popular girls informs me that upon reuniting, the girls all confronted Danny about how weird it was to spend her whole spring break with Cassie. And Danny's response was, I know, she just wouldn't go home. She mischaracterized what happened so badly to save face that it actually broke my heart. I really wanted to go home and play Halo with my sister and wear my own underwear, but I sensed a blossoming of like a strong new friendship that was never to be because we never hung out again after that. Oh, that one was, oh. Despite how much I hated when this happened, I think it's a B just because my source in the popular girls told me and helped me save face. This one was more like heartbreak than embarrassment. Yeah, this is bad. This is Wide Mouth Mason. I've been saving this one for last because as you guys probably know by now, no guys in the 7th grade liked me or my best friend Ashley. We weren't like gross looking or anything. We were just radioactive. We went swimming one day at this outdoor pool one time and a few guys took notice of us. We were going into grade 8 and they were going into grade 10. So we were enthralled by their mature immaturity and the extra foot of height. They were pretty hot. I walked over to get a drink at the concession at one point and received my first act of chivalry when one of the boys walked me there. And I ended up having my first kiss with that boy behind the concession. I did not know what I was doing. Touching lips with a stranger is an acquired skill that takes a reasonable amount of practice. All of this to say, I basically, I ate his face, and then he went home and changed his MSN Messenger name to Wow! So I thought I did the best job ever, but then he got his friend to add me and tell me that my mouth was way too wide open. And he asked if we could try again, but I was reluctant to practice with him anymore because he told his friend. I thought maybe we could like, take it slow. But he ended up inviting me to the park with a bunch of his friends watching, and he broke up with me. At least he did it in person.
You guys were dating?
Yeah. I feel like if you kiss, you're dating, right? That was like my man at the time. That one sucked. Just the fact that it was such a vulnerable thing for me, I was a prude. I really didn't want to kiss him in the first place, but I did it because I thought that that's what you do, but it was really vulnerable. And then he like told people that I sucked. Not in a good way. And I feel like he only changed his MSN name to like Wow to like make his ex jealous because when he broke up with me, he was like, there's this girl, Sabrina. You go to a different school, you're in a different grade, like I don't need to know any of this. Wide Mouth Mason, oh, that's an S. It was the first time that I felt like discarded as a girl. It was more than formative. It had impact. I absolutely love reading people's embarrassing stories, so please leave a comment of yours. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see me again, make sure you hit push notifications, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!